Hi, everyone. I'm really glad that you're here. My name is Amy Bencomo, College and Career Center Specialist at Prospect High School. Before we begin, I just want to say thank you for attending. When you are proactive about your future, um, it's a recipe for success. So I'm really excited that you're here and that you're excited to be here. Maybe you're not excited, maybe your parents made you, but I'm still happy you're here. All right, so this is actually going to be a fast-paced, take notes, although I will give you a worksheet and write down those questions because we will have a Q&A at the end. And that way you can just think of those questions, write them down as you think of them, and it just helps you be better organized. So, welcome, and take a moment to make note of who you are today, because a year from now, you will be different, and I really hope that you enjoy the experience. It's pretty amazing. So the number one thing that you need to do for the next probably 8 months is be extremely organized. Go ahead and click on this. Well, you can't click on the link, but you can type in the bit.ly, which is bit.ly/2022 checklist. This is a really comprehensive worksheet packet that I've prepared for your class. I think it's about 16 pages. So there's a lot of information, and I've condensed it into about 15 slides or so for you today. So this is your first adult decision, applying to college and where you will attend. So revel in that, congratulations, and but there's a lot of prep work that you need to do. So make sure that you can access your Naviance Family Connection account. And when you go to Naviance, you're going to have a student sign in, and our zip code is 95070. It's not your home zip code, it's the Saratoga zip code. So make sure that you can access Naviance because you're going to be using it a lot. If you haven't already, open an email account in your real name. You do not want to use Chubby Koala or whatever other name that was adorable when you were 11. You want to use use an email that reflects your maturity and seriousness for college, because you will be checking that email a lot. You will be sharing it with colleges, and you want to have the right tone. Also, look on Aries and Naviance and make sure that your name on all social security documents, your school ID and everything, make sure they all match. That is how we reconcile information that we send, and how colleges reconcile all of that information is by making sure that the names match. Keep track of all of your usernames and passwords, either in a file on your phone or in a binder. And you'll notice on the worksheet that there's a grid of potential accounts that you may have. And the electronic version allows you to click on those sites, because I embedded all of the sites to those names. Another thing that you want to do is keep a copy of an essay or some kind of project or piece of assignment that you've done in school, especially one that you're proud of and that may have positive teacher feedback. Some private schools actually requested these, and I've seen this a lot, especially with more elite schools. The reason is because it not only measures your writing, but the kind of education that you've received, because when they see the feedback from the teachers, they know, oh, okay, this is why this student writes in this particular way. So that's actually excellent insight. So go ahead and keep track of something. definitely be organized at home. Keep files, keep everything in either a file, drawer, maybe a suitcase, I don't know, or a cardboard box. It's just an excellent way. You put everything in one spot. That way, if one of your parents checks the mail, they have something, they can either put it in the box for you or you can go through it. And if it's from a school you're not interested in, throw it away and make sure that you're off their mailing list. That's part of being organized. You can decline to be on an email list. So, and that's really important because that'll help keep you your emails tidy, make sure you don't miss anything, but also read the emails from schools that you are interested in. Okay. All right. So, a little note about testing. Well, it's not really as important as it has been in the past, but I know that this is a point of concern for a lot of students. So if you are able to take the SAT or ACT, the prospect school code is 053344. However, you're not able to test at this time. Do not worry about what you are not able to do. So many schools are test optional. The UCs and CSUs will not look at your score at all. They will not consider it. So do not worry about that if those are the schools that you are interested in. Right now, the only schools that are enforcing testing are the Florida public schools. So unless you really want to go to Florida, then you don't need to worry too much about it. But as you put your college list together, you can discern how important that essay, or excuse me, that SAT or ACT is. However, the AP test scores will probably carry more weight. There has not been a comprehensive message about AP scores for your application cycle, but prepare to do well if you are taking the AP test this May. And then that link shows you all of the test optional schools. It's a great resource. And let me also tell you that we already had a class, the class of 2021, that did their entire application cycle without being able to test. So you will be able to do the same, and schools will be even more adapted at looking at your college application because now they have experience with being test optional. So that should be a comfort. Your college list. Probably one of the more important things that you need to do when you're applying to college because you need to know where to apply. So make sure that all colleges are entered on Naviance. And what you can do is you put them on colleges I'm thinking about. And then as your list progresses, then you move them on to colleges I'm applying to. And for Naviance, you have to put them on the ones I'm thinking about first to be able to move them to the ones I'm applying to. It's a weird little glitch that they have. So requested information from colleges by their, go to their websites to request information. And that helps you understand each college better. And also it tells colleges that you're interested in them. So you will be on their email list. So if you're finding that you're not reading the emails from a particular school that you requested information, that tells you that you're really not interested. So remove them, get off their email list. Go ahead and contact, make sure that you have a list that includes a dream, a target, and likely colleges. And to determine where those schools fall, and look at their freshman admit profiles because they will kind of mimic your profile. And if it mimics perfectly, that would be a target. If your GPA and other rigorous coursework is a little bit higher, then it's probably a likely school. It's very likely you will be admitted. And then maybe if it's an elite school with a 15% or less admit rate and your GPA still matches up and everything, that's a dream school because any school that has a low admission rate, and I'm talking about Stanford and Harvard, um, even if you are ranked number one at Prospect, it is still considered a dream school because it's never a guarantee. You really just have to make sure you have all that polished to make your application stand out. So continue your college searches using your latest GPA, and I recommend using your weighted GPA or whatever GPA is the highest. Um, because colleges, when they review your application, they review it in a way that kind of gives more merit to you anyway, and they recalculate the GPAs for their standards. So it's okay to use your weighted. That what that does is it reflects the rigor of your coursework. I get that question a lot, so I wanted to include that. Go ahead and search using Naviance College Search. You can customize the criteria. Use the Add to List button when you find an interesting looking college. And deciding your top search factors will help you comprise a list of best fit colleges. So some factors would include location, research opportunities, maybe a particular major, urban versus the wilderness, and diversity. Prospect students love diverse schools, and I think that's because we have a diverse campus, and I'm always happy to hear that. So college tour and college fair plan. If you cannot visit colleges before you will apply, which probably likely, and you can still make virtual visits, and most colleges on your list. So you can compare the type of location and services and know what to look for on their website and at virtual tours. So these are just some resources to help you kind of dig deeper virtually. And I definitely recommend knowing kind of like the comprehensive environment that you will be in at school. And that includes going to a Google map and seeing, okay, what restaurants are nearby? Is there a Target or a Walmart? Because, maybe you need to buy coffee at 2 o'clock in the morning and you don't want to have to drive 30 minutes to get to it. So just things like that are items to consider when you're looking at schools. Now, the next item on the worksheet is talking about summer activities and extracurriculars. That's a longer conversation, but I want you to look at this and think about where that falls for you. So think about ways leadership, initiative, community involvement, and dedication have been experienced. And how has your free time been spent? So reflect on ways that this has moved you toward your college, your collegiate or career goal. So have you taken more school? Have you volunteered? What about work? Internship, travel, family responsibility. And so often our family responsibilities are not given enough credit. Like we don't give ourselves enough credit. So if you spend a lot of time doing something that is part of the success of your family, and that might be childcare, that might be making dinner, I don't know. I mean, that's up to you to determine. That is important. So do not discount yourself. And I list pandemic because this is a part of you. We are now a year into distant learning, and you're 16 years old. That's actually a big chunk of your life. So that's something that you need to reflect and think about what have been your unique priorities, what has been your personal journey, and make note of what have your adjustment been. Write that down because that might be something that you write about in the future. So your brag sheet and resume, you're going to hear a lot about your brag sheet and resume. And they're both on Naviance. So the brag sheet is a platform where the more information you provide us is the better. And it's also a place where if there's something you want your school counselor or a teacher to know about you or about your interest in particular in a particular college, add this information or email your counselor directly. We all use the brag sheet and we all look at the resume, especially your school counselors, myself, and teachers when writing letters of recommendation. And I'll talk about that in the next slide. So make sure that you put as much information as possible. Another item of interest is when we read this, we take notes about, oh, I didn't know this student did this. This might be handy when we're considering scholarships. So definitely fill that out. It's good practice for writing your personal insight question or your Common App prompts. The resume, your school counselor will use the Naviance resume to see the facts about your years in high school and how you've spent your time inside and out of high school. You know what? You should have a resume anyway, so that's good practice. And this information, again, is used to write letters of recommendation for you to private and out-of-state colleges. So the UCs and CSUs do not require letters of recommendation. So if those are the only schools you're going to apply to, then you don't need to worry too much about this. But the moment you think about a private school or something out of state, make sure that you have your brag sheet and resume ready. Letters of recommendation. Only private and some out-of-state colleges ask for letters of recommendation, not the UCs or CSUs. And I do repeat that a lot because students, you get excited about applying to college and you forget that, oh, those letters aren't required for the California public schools. And so it might be a comfort to you. So build relationships now with your current teachers. You will most likely ask them to write a positive letter of recommendation in September. So current juniors, make sure you're participating in class. Make sure that you're giving your teachers something to write about if you're going to turn around and ask them to write a letter of recommendation. And keep in mind, they have the right to say no. If you ask someone to write a letter of recommendation and they say no, take it as a gift and just say thank you. Sometimes teachers have personal things going on. Maybe they have too many letters already, but if they're not inclined to write a letter, then it's not going to be a good letter if you try to talk them into it. And then ask someone else. There's always someone that's willing to write you a letter. And for the school counselor letter of recommendations, make sure you have a conversation with them if you're applying early action or early decision to any colleges. Because the deadline is so much earlier, that's why it's called early action. You want to make sure that your counselors are prepared to provide all of that supporting documents. And oftentimes for those private schools, it's a letter of recommendation from the counselor. And the reason why schools ask for letters from the counselor is because they are looking to understand you as a student in the overall school environment. Have you made an impact in the community? Are you in good standing with the community? Has there been anything nefarious that they need to know about? School counselors have to report that. So keep that in mind when you're talking to your school counselor, and make sure you get to know them. They write so much better letters when they know you. And another point, do not ask for more letters than you need. Recently, we had a student who asked for 5 letters. They needed two. So what happened is the three people who wrote the letters found out that they weren't needed, and they felt like it was kind of a waste of time. So be mindful of all the letters that you need and don't ask people to do something that's not necessary. Career and major choices. So this is probably going to be time consuming when you consider your options because you are planning for your future and college is a part of that. So what you want to do is dig deep. Make sure you've completed all the Naviance tools to help you choose your possible major or career. And what you can do is go into the Career Interest Profiler and Strengths Explorer. And what those tools do is they tell you what you have an aptitude for, or maybe something to consider. So they're just tools to help you better navigate the idea of a major. Maybe you already know what you want to do. If that's the case, then that's easy. But if you don't know, do not worry about it. There's tools for that, but also it's okay to go to school without a major declared. So you want to enter careers that you're interested in when you're doing a search. And then, so what major or area do you think your interest, that interests you most? And so maybe if you already have an interest in engineering or bioscience or psychology, you can search those under the majors. And most colleges are fine with students applying undeclared or exploratory. And exploratory is really the new term that they're trying to put out there just so that students know it's okay. That's part of college is to explore. All right, this is actually super important, especially to private schools. Demonstrate interest to colleges. And if you can go ahead and kind of set a schedule for yourself when you're going to demonstrate interest to colleges, especially the private schools, then put it on your calendar, whatever you need to do to be organized. So ask yourself, have you shown any of the colleges on your list that you're interested in them? And that's what's called demonstrated interest. And the way you demonstrate that interest is by attending the school college visits. So when they come to Prospect or whatever high school you go to their college visits so that you can have that face-to-face, even if it's virtual. They want to see you and make that connection with the school. Request information from the college via their website. Open all of those emails from the colleges and click on links. It's time consuming, but there's colleges, especially some of the more elite private schools, they have entire analytic departments that measure your interest so that when they offer admission, they really want to offer admission to students that will say yes because they're looking to have that high yield. So if there's a school that you're interested in, make sure that you open those emails and click those links. Another way to demonstrate interest is take a college tour. You can do it virtually or in person when it's safe. And try to use that personal email so that everything is linked and they measure you all on the same page. You don't want to have your mom booking the college visit when it's for your application. So another way are those virtual college fairs. That is when you have a chance to talk to representatives. Every time they ask you, oh, what's your name? I want to be able to keep up with you. Give them your name and that same email so that they can keep track. And you can also contact admission offices to ask them extra information or specific questions. It's a great way to demonstrate interest and learn more about the school at the same time. You can also arrange interviews with admission staff over the summer or in the fall. And what I've noticed is when students do that, they come back and they tell me something new that they've learned. So it's really a great use of time, especially if you're interested in a school. And like I said before, read all emails from schools that you're interested in. What you should be doing right now, and maybe that's a little exaggerated. You probably have a couple months to do it all. You don't have to do it right now. But open those college application accounts. You want to open your Cal State account, your UC app, and then the Common app. Set up those accounts, put in the information that you can put in now so that you're ready. And when the applications open, you're relaxed and you're prepared and you've had a moment to look at everything. So do not rush and do this November 15th, please. What you should do now, and this is actually important, are plan those specialist essays and portfolios, auditions, and interviews. If you are interested in something like art, architecture, theater, music, dance, those are specialist applications. You really have to prepare for those. You cannot just wing it in November. You have to prepare now. And probably chances are, if that is the route that you're going to take, you're already in communication with your music director or a theater director. So you should be aware of that. But it's worth noting that there's a lot more steps, and the longer that you have to plan for that, the more polished you're going to have. You're going to be more relaxed, and you're going to showcase the best part of you. Go ahead and plan and start application essays and other written responses. Now, you don't have to do that this red hot minute. I do recommend having everything else in place and having this as your summer homework. And actually, it shouldn't even be homework. It can be beach work. It can be pool work. It can be cabin work. I don't know, wherever you decide to go, because that's the beauty of this day and age. We can take our laptops with us or our Chromebooks, whatever we have, and do a lot over the summer. So definitely utilize that time. Do not stress. And you can use your phone and do a voice prompt to take care of a lot of content. Make sure you edit. That's important. This is college work. Everything needs to be proofed and look like college work. But there's a lot you can do over the summer so that you can start your senior year relaxed and enjoy. I'm anticipating that the schools will be open and that your senior year will be amazing. So you are going to want to have, everything lined up so that you can do the homecoming, so that you can go have dinner with your friends, so that you can, do everything else and participate in sports. So take advantage of this preparation time. I will note that make use of the additional information box, because the spring of 2020 distant learning and our school only gave pass, no pass grades. So for some of you, you might want to explain how that semester was. I know a lot of students were disappointed, especially for our seniors this year, but they made use of the additional information box to say, you know what, we were distant learning. I got a pass, but it would have been an A. And I learned a lot about myself. I mean, there's things that you can put in there and think about using it, because basically you have an entire semester that needs to be noted somehow. All right. So preparing for college app essays, and other written responses. So not all college applications require an essay or a written response. None of the CSUs and most state schools do not need it. They look at your grades, maybe you list some extracurriculars, and that's enough for them. So that includes Arizona State University, Oregon State University, University of Nevada. Um, the applications are pretty straightforward, and you don't need to worry about writing. But if you complete your brag sheet and resume on Naviance, it prepares you for writing these other essays because you're already doing some self-analysis and thinking about what's important to you. And they remind you of other things that you've done, like the community involvement, sports, clubs, caring for your family, working, and other self-development. So think about yourself, skills, achievements, values, experiences, hopes for the future, etc. And this will help you write essays that sound like you. And it's important that they sound like you. I can't tell you how many times I've read essays from students and I thought, wait, time out. Who wrote this? Because students, high school students, have a way of writing with a sense of maturity. But when their parents try to help them out, they don't write with that same maturity because they're trying to sound like a teenager, and that doesn't work. So there's something to be mindful of. All right, here's a list of tons of resources to help you out. And that's all on the document that you received. And I'm going to stop recording so that we can ask questions.